Right then, this is a quick road test video, and this is for a Honda Civic 1.8 EX. And this particular car is registered RV56XDP, and mileage at the start of the road test is 52,892 miles. Reason for doing the road test is basically so customers of ours actually get to see the car we're advertising actually in operation. We're acutely aware that lots of our customers come from not just the UK but mainland Europe, so people are willing to travel a long way to come see our cars, so the least we can do is put the effort in to actually show you them. It's also done on the same very quiet country roads close to our premises, on the same test drive route, so hopefully be representative of what you'd feel yourself if offered a test drive on the car. It is a critical video, so if there's anything wrong on the vehicle, then you get to know about it. It's the whole point of doing it. So just very briefly, the car's just gone through service. The engine was serviced, oil changed, filters changed. Also, we fitted some front brake pads to the car. They were probably past an MOT. Well, they would have passed an MOT, but we just thought they were low enough that we should change them. Apart from that, the car's in very, very fine fettle. Engine starts absolutely instantly, of course. Typical Honda engine. It's a wonderfully, wonderfully sweet unit, and obviously it's a very low mileage for the year, so you'd expect it to be good. But there's no warning lights on the dashboard that relate to the engine or any other part of the vehicle. Temperature gauge running at a third, which is exactly where a Honda should be, and it's up to full operating temperature. The car's been running for well over an hour now, but it's just the engine in use. It's just a lovely unit. They're so sweet revving, pull through the entire rev range without complaint, with a lovely soundtrack to them as well. I've had plenty of these. I've got one currently, and I'm averaging over 45 to the gallon out of mine, so the claimed 43 is very, very easy indeed. I've got many of my customers achieving far, far more than that. They're obviously also cam chain driven engines, so there's no cam belts on these at all, so no big major services looming on them, and their reputation for reliability is completely unmatched in its class, on top of which they're incredibly long lasting, with hundreds of thousands of miles, being eminently capable of sort of getting these high mileages very easily indeed. Engine then feeds through clutch and into gearbox. Clutch on the car is absolutely spot on. Bike point is exactly where it should be on the car. Smooth and positive in operation. Clutch then feeds through into, while I've always rated as, a brilliant gearbox. It's not just reliable and tough, because they always are on these Civics, but it's just a joy to use. It's so slick. I mean, it's obviously cable operated from here through to the gearbox like most front wheel drive cars. The difference is that, unlike some where they become vague and lifeless or notchy, this actually adds to the driving pleasure of the car. It's such a lovely, crisp gearbox to use, and I can't detect anywhere in the gear linkage at all. It feels absolutely as it would have done when it was new. Steering on the Civic is always a positive on these. It's a lovely power steering setup. The steering itself tracks absolutely bullet straight. There's no vibrations at all up to the legal limit, and I always ask our delivery drivers who drive on the motorway to check for speed wobble, and they reported nothing back at all. It's also just feels tight, crisp, as though there's no wear in it at all. That's the feeling you get through the steering. But it's just, in use, it's brilliant. It's so positive. It's perfectly tuned to the chassis as well, because the chassis responds brilliantly to it. So as soon as you turn the wheel, it's the slightest movement and the car's going. It's got a real go-kart feel about it, which makes the car feel as dynamic as it is, because it really is a fabulously fun car. We sell loads of these to people who have had quite sporty cars previously but may need something more practical, but actually still want to have something that actually gives you a bit back, and these really do. The chassis, as I said, is perfectly tuned to the steering as well, because it's so quick and dynamic to react. It corners very flat, very precisely. It's a really good fun car to drive. what I'm looking for on road test, of course, is just any signs of mechanical wear that there might be on the vehicle underneath, and that can quite often be things like little suspension joints might have a little bit of play in them, but there's nothing on this. It's very quiet indeed. There's no sort of mechanical chatter come from underneath the vehicle at all. Let's wait for the lady to move and then I'll go on. Brakes on the car, as I've said, we've just done the front brake pad, so the brake pedal's very good indeed. There's no pulsing or vibration coming through the brake pedal, so everything in good order. Looking around inside the car, I mean, I've always loved the interiors of these. They're very well put together cars as well, but the dashboard is just, firstly, it's in very, very nice condition, and we haven't even cleaned the car yet, so it's going to go in next. But it's a really, really lovely car in here. The dashboard design I've always gone on about, but fundamentally things like the sat nav working perfectly, air conditioning pumps out absolutely ice cold air, all the readouts working exactly as they should, but it's just using it which is lovely. The sat nav works off this big rotary dial here. It's really simple and easy to use. You can go to little sub menus, but there are buttons on the side. You don't have to press there to find where you're going, so you can actually use it on the move. The other good thing about the sat nav is it's mounted up very high on the dashboard, so you can look at the car in front, but also kind of keep an eye on your where you're going at the corner of your eye. But even better than that is the high up speedo, which I've always thought was a genius idea. It just basically means I can look at that car directly in front of me, but I know the speed I'm travelling without taking my eyes off the road. It's just brilliant. Down below that you've got kind of a more conventional pod, but it's actually interesting in its own right. You've got this huge rev counter flanked by the temperature gauge and fuel gauge, but then you've got an information display that kind of floats out from the rev counter itself. This whole dashboard looks fantastic, and at night it looks sensational illuminated. It really does. I'm acutely aware that this is completely subjective, of course, and this is my personal opinion, and that can differ massively from other people. I mean, there's people who just don't get these cars at all, they don't like the interior styling, and I respect that. That's because we've all got our own opinions, but I also think that's a sign of actually a really good design that polarizes opinion, because I think these work fabulously. Others don't share my thoughts on it. As I said at the start of the video, the point of these videos is actually just to show the car, but also to pick up on any issues there might be on the drive of the vehicle. There's nothing on this. It drives absolutely beautifully. Both myself and Tony, my business partner, used to work at the Honda dealership in Bristol, so we know these cars very well indeed. So if there's any issues, we know straight away how they should drive, and this drives absolutely beautifully. However, if I've missed something on the video, don't hesitate, please do give us a call and we'll happily answer any questions you might have.